Good evening, everyone. This is your evening news recap, your nightly news podcast on all the news that I come across throughout the day, giving you my take as somebody who aspires to be a politician in the near future. Hopefully, all you guys are doing wonderful. Hopefully, all you guys are well. Today is January 5th of 2026. Hopefully, all you guys are having a wonderful day and week so far, as it is Monday today. And hopefully all you guys have a wonderful week as a whole. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. All the support would greatly appreciate it as we are trying to reach 1,000 subscribers on YouTube by this summer. And if you're on Substack, please consider subscribing as well. All the support is appreciated, and it's $8 a month. It helps me pay for the things that I need to pay for in my life, like my groceries, like my clothing, all that. All funds go to me, of course. With that being said, though, hopefully all you guys are doing well. I'm doing pretty solid myself, and let's get into the news from today. Before we get into the news, though, we're going to read some news from the past, talking about the time that Nixon rejected subpoenas from the Senate committee for 500 tapes and papers from January 5th of 1974. Okay. To produce the materials you seek would unquestionably destroy any vestige of confidentiality of the president's communications, the Time reported. President Nixon's writing to the Senate's Watergate Committee. Nixon had resisted previous attempts by the committee to gain access to the recordings of his conversations and phone calls. In July, the Supreme Court ruled unanimously that he had to release the tapes. So that, of course, relates to the Watergate tapes related to Nixon, all the conversations, all of the things that went on in that regard for the Watergate scandal, which was a big deal, and it's crazy that a lot of things done by the current administration would be considered or seen on the level of the Watergate scandal and just had no reaction to them at all. But hey, I guess that's just how the world goes sometimes, eh? Outside of that though, I think the one like popular thing I remember from the Watergate scandal, like the one popular line was Nixon like saying that he wasn't a crook. What a joke that was, huh? Um, Anyways, moving on to our news from today. Our first topic today, Pete Hegseth plans to censure Senator Mark Kelly, docking his pay and retirement grade. I believe that's how you pronounce that correctly. That's like one of the words that I just cannot get right for the life of me. Pete Hegseth announced the Pentagon plans to punish Senator Mark Kelly, a retired Navy captain, cutting his retirement pay and more, after appearing in a video telling service members to refuse illegal orders. In a post on Twitter, Hegseth said 6 weeks ago, Mark Kelly and 5 other members of Congress released a reckless and sedacious video that was clearly intended to undermine good order and military discipline. As a retired Navy captain who is still receiving military pension, Captain Kelly knows he is still accountable to military justice, and the Department of War and the American people expect justice. Therefore, in response to Senator Mark Kelly's sedated statements and his pattern of reckless misconduct, the Department of War is taking administrative action against Captain Mark E. Kelly. USN Ret. The department has initiated retirement grade determination proceedings under the 10 USC 1370F with redaction to his retired grade, resulting in a corresponding reduction in retired pay. To ensure this action, the Secretary of War has also issued a formal letter of censure, which outlines a totality of Captain Kelly's reckless misconduct. This censure is a necessary process and will be placed in Captain Kelly's official and permanent personal file. Captain Kelly has been provided the notice of the biases for this action and has 30 days to submit a response. The retirement grade determination process directed by the Secretary Hegseth will not be completed but within 45 days. Captain Kelly's status and as a sitting United States Senator does not exempt him from accountability, and further violations could result in further action. These actions are based on Captain Kelly's public statements from June through December of 2025, in which he characterized lawful military operations as illegal and counseled members of armed forces to refuse lawful orders. The conduct was sedacious in nature and violates Articles 133 and 134 of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, to which Captain Kelly remains subject to as a retired officer receiving pay. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. It is not illegal for the slightest for anyone within Congress to tell military service members not to follow illegal orders. In fact, according to that very uniform code of military justice Hedgeth is referencing, troops are encouraged not to comply with any form of illegal orders. It reads, while the military operates on obedience, in order to commit a crime or violate the Constitution is inherently unlawful, and any service members are trained to identify and refuse such commands, a principle reinforced by the Military Legal Council. Hegseth wants to dock a veteran's pay and take his rank, all because he told troops to support and to follow their oath. This administration has the balls to say that they support veterans, which is an absolute joke, or troops for that matter. And anyways, moving on into our segment about ICE, Hilton has canceled reservations for ICE. The Department of Homeland Security has announced Hilton hotels have canceled reservations made for ICE agents in Minnesota. In a post on Twitter, they wrote, "No Room at the Inn" at Hilton Hotels has launched a coordinated campaign in Minneapolis to refuse service to DHS law enforcement when officers attempted to book rooms using government emails and rates. Hilton Hotels maliciously canceled their reservations. This is unacceptable. Why is Hilton Hotels siding with murderers and rapists to deliberately undermine and impede DHS law enforcement from their mission to enforce our nation's immigration laws? Companies reserve the right to refuse service to absolutely anyone. I mean, what do they expect when they're kidnapping people off the streets? It's absolutely wild to me that people who are blatantly racist and choose to work for a position that is very clearly filled with racist individuals and is very blatantly targeting people by race, racially profiling and doing so many more very clearly racist things, expect some higher form of treatment from, anyone within the world. I mean, if I was a store owner, if I was a hotel owner, I myself would absolutely deny service to anyone who is racist, because why should I support anyone or allow anyone like that in my facilities? I hope to see more companies and hotels follow through with this, because fuck ICE, truly. Their organization is absolutely disgusting, and the things that they do to people on a daily basis are absolutely disgusting. Anyways, talking about Venezuela, Maduro has pleaded not guilty. Nicolas Maduro has pleaded not guilty, declaring that he was captured and that he's the president of his country. When asked for his plea, Maduro said, "I am innocent. I am not guilty. I'm a decent man, the constitutional president of my country." Maduro appeared in Manhattan for court. This is the first time, of course, he and his wife have been seen since their capture. His wife also pleaded not guilty. A lot of MAGA has been quick to say that the left has been quick to take the side of Maduro in this matter. I've read a lot of comments from my videos on that specifically, and I think most of them just don't recognize what people, or at least what I am saying. If it didn't matter when dictators pushed to take control of Ukraine, like Putin did, or like in Gaza, like what Netanyahu did, why does it matter now when Maduro is pushing to take control of Venezuela? Because that never mattered to them. In fact, they were very clearly against them and that idea of supporting these countries. So why does it matter that we're supporting Venezuela now? You know, uh, Trump was all about putting America first, saying no more new wars. He campaigned on that. He said, we are going to put America first. We're not going to start any more wars. We're not going to go to wars with the countries that you've never ever heard of. That's an actual Trump quote, by the way. You can go find that for yourself if you want to. I'm sure there's a clip on TikTok. I saw that today. And why aren't we holding him accountable for that? Those are things that he campaigned on. Those are things that he said he was going to do. He said, we are going to this. We are going to do this. We are not going to go do any more wars. We are not going to fight any countries who you have never heard of. We're not going, which is, a crazy play. You as an American should know all of the countries in the world. I myself do. It is important that you know geography for that matter. That is him just playing on the fact that Americans are stupid. But hey, but like, why not hold him accountable? When these are the things that he said he was going to do. Because that's what we should be doing. We should be holding every political leader accountable, especially somebody like the president. You know, why not Trump? What is this? His fourth war? Maybe even more than that at this point? I mean, every single time MAGA just seems to extend the line, draw the line further and further back. When it should have been, it's been crossed. It's been crossed according to MAGA standards from the start of it, and yet they still don't seem to care. If Trump was really America first, we would have free healthcare in the United States. If Trump was really America first, he wouldn't take money from Israel and or be Israel's greatest ally in the Oval Office ever, according to Netanyahu himself. If Trump was really America first, people would not be locked up in camps with no idea as to when they'll be released. If Trump was really America first, he wouldn't be pushing anti agendas against minorities for living here in this country, like trans people, like people of color, and so many more. Yet he decides to prey on them like a political tool because he's not America first. Trump has never been America first, and he never will be. He's money first. And he goes where the dollar rises. Why do you think he switched from being a Democrat to a Republican? Because that's where the money was at. He was a Democrat forever. The man famously hung out with drag queens. The man, famously did all of these things. I mean, it's an absolute joke. I said yesterday that Trump has never and will not be ever a leader for the working class, and that is a fact. Trump does not care about the working class. He never does. He cares about the people who are taking advantage of the working class because they are his friends and they put more money into this man's pocket. I mean, this man was hanging around Epstein, who's also hanging around with the richest people in the world. Not to mention Trump is one of the richest people in the world, being in that, top 6% of billionaires, which, he doesn't really have because of the amount of times he's been bankrupt. But hey, all of these political schemes and all of the money that he's made under this administration is really helping him in that regard. You want to talk about robbery? Let's talk about the amount of times Trump is robbing his supporters. Talk about the Trump phone that never showed up. Talk about the watches that never showed up, huh? But, outside of all of that, this man is a horrific guy. He does not care about the middle class. He cares about putting more money in his pockets. It's why he supports the billionaires. It's why he's provided tax cuts to the billionaires, because it gets him more money. It's why he takes money from Israel. It's why he takes money from all of these super PACs throughout the world. He doesn't care about you, the working class. He cares about putting more money in his pockets, and he cares about keeping the status quo and the rich richer. I mean, I don't know how people still don't see that. It's blatantly obvious. I mean, he even went out and said himself that this conflict on Venezuela was about oil, and yet MAGA still likes to chirp that it's not. It's not about drugs. It's never been about drugs. Nobody cares about drugs. The CIA spent forever, planting drugs into communities. This government has spent forever pushing drugs onto communities of people of color, or, communities throughout this country, wherever, where they are, less fortunate. Nobody cares about drugs in the United States. You know what? The drugs actually make this country run. Drugs run the economy in this country. If you look at it statistically, that is what makes the money pump in this country. Nobody cares. This is a conflict about oil. It's a conflict about making big oil richer, because in return, that makes the president richer. Because you know who pays out Trump? Big oil. Because you know who pays for big oil, and you know who owns big oil? BlackRock. And all of these other corporations that own everything else in this country. Simple. It's right there for you. Yet nobody recognizes it. Anyways, Venezuela has ordered the capture of anyone who is actively helping the United States. Venezuela has ordered an emergency decree to start nationwide arrests of anyone who is accused of supporting the U.S. in the attack on their country. The statewide emergency has been put out by the government and orders all police to immediately begin the national search and capture of everyone involved in the promotion or support of the armed attack by the United States. Good luck to everyone in Venezuela. I hope they find anyone who supported the United States in this matter. I mean, we bombed the country and killed a shit ton of people. You really would hope a country would do this after that. And this war isn't over either after Maduro has been captured. People in my comment section on YouTube yesterday said, that this war is over. Maduro is captured. It's done. People are failing to realize that there is still, for one, a power vacuum in this country that is trying to be stabilized by what is left of the Maduro administration. But also, they're still very clearly going to retaliate in this. The Maduro administration has clearly stated that they are going to retaliate, that they are still going to run the country. The Trump administration in the United States does not have control over Venezuela after they just miraculously captured their leader. In a grand scheme of things, capturing a country's leader does absolutely nothing if you want to control the country, because there are still other people within that country who are very capable of leading it. I mean, talk about all the people who are in the line of succession to become president if Donald Trump dies, then if J.D. Vance dies, then if, Mike Johnson dies. This is a whole thing that exists in countries. You don't just take over a country after killing their leader. There is a line of succession, guys. That's how that works. That's how countries have worked forever, since the beginning of time. There's always been a line of succession, even going back to when there were kings and queens. And granted, there's still kings and queens today, but kings and queens don't have a large amount of political say. Um, you know, not just that. Like, there's also going to be cartels in this country that they're going to have to battle against if they want to take it over. There's a whole administration who is saying that they're going to fight against this Trump administration. I mean, we still have a full-scale conflict ahead of us when it comes to Venezuela, and people aren't recognizing that. Like, it's not over, guys. We still have a war to wage, especially if they want to control the oil fields, especially if they want to control everything about the country. There is still a full war to wage there. If they wanted to get rid of the dictator, sure, yeah, absolutely, get rid of Maduro, sure, but like that does nothing in the grand scheme of things. It really does not. You still have people related to him in power. You still have people who are going to want to take that power that you are going to have to fight against if you want that power, and also you're still going to have to fight a full-scale conflict in everyone who wants that power, including the current administration in the country. Anyways, moving on into our other news segment for today. The first topic we have is Tim Walz has announced that he will not run again. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz has announced that he will not run for re-election. Walz said at the state capitol, "Every minute that I spend defending my own political interest would be a minute I cannot spend defending the people of Minnesota against the criminals who prey on our generosity and the cynics who prey on our differences. Sorry. So I've decided to step out of this race, and I'll let others worry about the election while I focus on the work that is in front of me for the next year." If Tim Walz is retiring, which I really hope he is, I mean, the man's getting a little up there in age these days. I'd say that he had a solid political career. And I do think it's pretty noble that he decided to give up his race, and face the massive issues of fraud in the state, and the issue at hand, which is a big deal. It's something that Trump would never do by far. But the man was a veteran, or is a veteran, was an educator, and spent a lot of time in office since 2007 to now, in offices throughout politics. And I really think you could say that's probably one of the most ideal career paths for somebody to be in politics and for someone to be a governor of the state. Let's get a young face and governor from Minnesota next. Let's keep moving our country in a younger direction, of course. But Tim Walz didn't have the worst political career, and he has very clearly made it clear that he wants to take a stand against any fraud that is happening within his state. Of course, the Trump administration is blaring against him, saying that he's not, but he's made multiple statements saying that he wants to go after and take out this fraud if it does exist. So good for Walz. I hope he enjoys retirement. In other news, Senator Mark Kelly has made a statement following the statement from Pete Hegseth. Senator Mark Kelly made a statement following Pete Hegseth calling to dock his pay and derank him. Kelly said, "Over 25 years in the U.S. Navy, 39 combat missions, and 4 missions to space, I risk my life for this country and to defend our Constitution, including the First Amendment rights on every Americans to speak out. I never expected that the President of the United States and the Secretary of Defense would attack me for doing exactly that. My rank and retirement are things that I earned through my service and sacrifice for this country. I got shot at, I missed holidays and birthdays, I commanded a space shuttle mission, while my wife Gabby recovered from a gunshot wound to the head, and while proudly wearing the American flag on my shoulder. Generations of service members have made these same patriotic sacrifices for this country, earning the respect and appreciation and a rank they deserve." Pete Hegseth wants to send a message to every single retired service member that if they say something that he or Donald Trump doesn't like, they will come after them the same way. It is outrageous and wrong. There is nothing more un-American than that. If Pete Hegseth, the most unqualified Secretary of Defense in our country's history, can think he can intimidate me with a censure or threats to demote me or prosecute me, he still doesn't get it. I will fight this with everything I've got, not for myself, but to send a message back to Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump that they don't decide what the Americans in this country get to say about their government. We already treat veterans in this country like shit. I mean, that's just an understatement as well. And especially the ones who don't have a voice. And that's something that should be changed without a doubt. We need to treat veterans better across the board. But to go after a veteran who does have a voice, especially being a senator, and who will continue to have a voice for sure, is going to be a problem for this administration without a doubt. Kelly likely will challenge this, and he likely, without a doubt, will win this case. I don't see a world where Kelly doesn't win this case. Everything he did followed the law. He didn't do anything illegal. And I don't know. All he did was encourage troops to do something which they are already told to do. They are already told not to follow illegal war orders, and this war in Venezuela is illegal. It has not been approved by Congress. We are actively killing people, not without congressional approval. And so many other issues with that too. There, I mean, we have already been confirmed to have killed civilians, which is a war crime for that matter. But nobody in this administration is going to win this. This is a, a win for Kelly through and through. And good for him. I mean, they just handed this one to him. They really did. But we'll see how this one plays out. Anyways, moving on into our final topic for tonight. The Arizona Supreme Court has been evacuated today for a package with possible explosives. A package received by the Arizona Supreme Court has been tested for possible homemade explosive substances, which has led to evacuation of the building. The building was evacuated around 8 a.m. local time while authorities investigated 2 vials. The package is now being disposed of, according to CBS. Thankfully, it seems nobody was harmed in this. Things like this do happen, and luckily this time nothing came of it. But I hope a full investigation is done to who sent this package and where it came from, because nobody should have to worry about a bomb or being put at risk of a bomb. With that being said, though, thank you everyone for watching today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed. It has definitely been a very interesting day in the news world, as always. It's going to be an interesting week, as every week is. But hey, drop a subscribe if you're new. All the support would be greatly appreciated, as we're trying to reach 1,000 subscribers on YouTube by this summer. And if you're on Substack, subscribe as well. It's $8 a month. All funds help me pay for the things that I need to pay for in my life, like my groceries, like my clothing, like my bills, all of that. This is a user-supported show, or a viewer-supported show. So all the support is truly greatly appreciated. Outside of that, though, I think that's all we have for today. Not too much for me to say, not too much for me to shout about. So have a good one, guys. I will see you all tomorrow for the next episode. Later.